There exists a peculiar kind of silence that lives not in empty rooms, but within occupied hearts. It is the silence of someone who sits among laughter yet hears nothing, who walks through crowds yet feels utterly alone. This is not the absence of noise, but the absence of resonance, a hollow echo where fullness should dwell. Some people carry this emptiness like a second skin, invisible to the world but devastatingly real to those who wear it. Emptiness is not sadness, though they are often confused. Sadness has weight, texture, a story that can be told. Emptiness is the absence of all these things, a void where even sadness cannot take root. It is the feeling of standing in a room full of colors yet seeing only gray, of touching things without truly feeling them, of existing without the visceral confirmation that existence matters. Those who live with this emptiness often struggle to name it, for how does one describe the absence of something they cannot quite remember having? The world moves at a relentless pace, demanding engagement, enthusiasm, participation. Yet some people watch this movement as if through glass, present but separated, seeing but not experiencing. They go through the motions with mechanical precision, performing the rituals of living without tasting its flavor. Morning routines become automated sequences. Conversations become scripts recited without conviction. Smiles become masks worn so consistently that even the wearer forgets the face beneath. This emptiness often begins quietly, almost imperceptibly. Perhaps it started with a single moment of disconnection that went unnoticed, a conversation where words felt hollow, a celebration that failed to spark joy, a connection that revealed itself as shallow. These moments accumulate like dust, layer upon invisible layer, until one day the person realizes they have been numb for longer than they can recall. The terrifying part is not the emptiness itself, but the gradual way it replaces what was once felt, like winter slowly claiming a landscape until spring becomes a distant memory. What causes a human heart to hollow itself out? Sometimes it is the defense mechanism of a soul that has felt too much, hurt too deeply, hoped too recklessly. The psyche, in its attempt to protect, builds walls so high that nothing can hurt anymore, but neither can anything heal, inspire, or fulfill. In shielding against pain, it inadvertently blocks out everything else. The heart learns to feel nothing rather than risk feeling everything, choosing numbness over the possibility of another wound. Other times, emptiness grows from the weight of expectations that were never truly chosen. People spend years becoming what others need them to be, the dependable friend, the successful professional, the perfect child, the strong partner. In the process of meeting everyone else's definitions, they lose sight of their own. Their days fill with accomplishments that bring no satisfaction, relationships that lack genuine intimacy, achievements that feel hollow because they were pursued for approval rather than authenticity. The emptiness that follows is the ghost of an unlived life, the echo of choices made for reasons that were never truly their own. There's also the emptiness born from loss, not just the loss of people, but the loss of dreams, identities, futures that were once certain. When the story someone believed about their life suddenly ends without resolution, when the person they thought they would become remains forever out of reach, an emptiness rushes in to fill the space where those possibilities once lived. This is the grief not for what was, but for what will never be. It is the mourning of alternate realities, the aching absence of futures that existed vividly in imagination but never materialized in reality. Modern life, with all its connectivity, paradoxically creates its own brand of emptiness. We are more linked than ever, yet often less known. Social interactions become curated performances, relationships maintained through screens, validation measured in metrics that satisfy algorithmically but not emotionally. The constant stream of information, opinions, and images creates a peculiar saturation, so much input that nothing truly penetrates. People become overwhelmed not by feeling too much, but by processing so much superficial content that depth becomes impossible. The emptiness here is not from absence, but from an overflow of the meaningless drowning out the meaningful. Some people with this inner emptiness become exceptional at hiding it. They master the art of seeming fine, of maintaining appearances, of answering "how are you?" with practiced ease. They understand that the world is uncomfortable with emptiness, that people want reassurance that everyone is fundamentally okay. So they learn to perform okayness, to participate in the collective fiction that everyone is more or less content. Meanwhile, the emptiness remains untouched beneath the purfur. Man's growing wider in its isolation. The cruelty of emptiness is its self-sustaining nature. When people feel hollow inside, they often withdraw from the very things that might fill them: relationships, experiences, passions, growth. The numbness convinces them that nothing will make a difference anyway, that reaching out requires energy they do not possess, that connection is more exhausting than solitude. They become trapped in a cycle where emptiness breeds isolation, and isolation deepens emptiness. Each day becomes a little grayer, a little more distant, a little more removed from the possibility of feeling truly alive. Yet within this emptiness, there exists a strange clarity. Those who have touched this void often develop a profound understanding of human fragility, of the arbitrary nature of meaning, of the courage required simply to continue. They see through the pretenses that comfort others, recognizing the masks because they wear one themselves. This clarity is simultaneously their burden and their wisdom. They cannot unsee the precariousness of happiness, the thinness of the line between fulfillment and futility. They understand in ways that the perpetually content never will how much of life is an act of faith against evidence, hope against reason, meaning against void. There are moments when the emptiness reveals itself most acutely. During celebrations where joy should naturally arise, in intimate moments where connection should deepen, at milestones where pride should swell. These are the times when the absence becomes undeniable, when others expect emotional responses that simply will not come. The person with emptiness inside them watches others cry at weddings, laugh at gatherings, glow with accomplishment, and wonders what alchemy of the soul they are missing. They feel like imposters in their own lives, pretending to experience what others seem to feel so effortlessly. What does it mean to be empty in a world obsessed with fullness? Society offers countless solutions. Pursue your passion, find your purpose, practice gratitude, seek therapy, try meditation, exercise more, connect deeply, love harder. And while these paths hold genuine value, they can feel impossibly distant to someone who struggles to feel anything at all. The suggestions, though well-intentioned, sometimes serve only to highlight the gulf between where they are and where they believe they should be. Purpose feels like a luxury for those who can barely summon motivation to meet basic obligations. Gratitude rings hollow when nothing seems to matter. Connection requires vulnerability that feels too risky when numbness is the only protection against overwhelming pain. Yet the human spirit, even when hollowed, possesses a remarkable resilience. Deep within the emptiness, barely perceptible, often exists a tiny flicker, not hope exactly, but something subtler. Perhaps it is the faint memory of what it felt like to feel, the ghost of joy or wonder or love that once was real. Or perhaps it is simply the stubborn refusal of consciousness to fully extinguish itself, the persistent whisper that this emptiness, however consuming, is not the entirety of existence. This flicker does not illuminate or warm or comfort, but it endures, quiet and patient, waiting for conditions that might allow it to grow. The journey out of emptiness, when it happens at all, rarely follows a linear path. It is not a matter of sudden epiphany or miraculous cure. Instead, it occurs in moments so small they might go unnoticed. A song that penetrates the numbness for 3 minutes, a conversation where connection briefly sparks, a sunset that registers as beautiful rather than merely bright, a memory that carries warmth instead of pain. These moments do not cure the emptiness, but they create tiny fissures in its walls, small reminders that feeling is still possible, that the capacity for aliveness has not been permanently lost. Understanding emptiness requires acknowledging its paradoxes. It is both unbearably heavy and weightlessly numb. It is the feeling of too much and not enough simultaneously. It is isolation felt most acutely in company, and solitude that brings neither peace nor productivity. It is the exhaustion of performing normalcy and the terror of letting that performance slip. It is wanting desperately to feel something while being afraid of what feeling might bring. Those who have never experienced this particular void often cannot fathom its complexity, its contradictions, its quiet devastation. There is no moral judgment to be passed on emptiness. It is not a failure of character, a lack of gratitude, or an indulgence in negativity. It is a state of being that happens to humans for reasons as varied and complex as humans themselves. Trauma, loss, chemistry, circumstance, the accumulated weight of existing in a world that can be simultaneously beautiful and brutal. Those who carry emptiness inside them are not weak or broken or wrong. They are simply people navigating an internal landscape that others cannot see, fighting battles that leave no visible scars, surviving in ways that receive no recognition because the struggle itself is invisible. As the day fades into evening, as obligations are met and performances maintained, those who feel empty inside return to the privacy of their own company. Here, without audience or expectation, the mask can finally rest. The silence that fills these private hours is different from the silence of a peaceful mind at rest. It is the silence of absence, of questions without answers, of yearning without object. It is the silence of a heart that has forgotten how to speak its own language, of a soul that has lost the map to its own terrain. Yet even in this silence, something persists, the simple act of continuing, of waking again tomorrow, of moving through another day. This continuation requires no grand purpose or profound meaning. It simply is. And perhaps in the arithmetic of existence, this persistence itself holds a significance that emptiness cannot fully erase. The person who feels hollow inside still breathes, still walks, still exists in space and time. Their emptiness is real, but so is their presence. Both truths coexist, neither canceling the other, both part of the complicated equation of being human. The morning arrives with indifference to the state of those who greet it. For some, dawn brings renewal, possibility, the fresh promise of another chance. For others, it brings only the weight of repetition, another day to navigate through the fog of emptiness that has become their constant companion. The sun rises regardless of whether its light touches anything alive inside those who witness it. Time continues its march forward, and those who feel hollow inside continue with it, not because they have found reason, but because stopping seems impossible or perhaps more frightening than continuing. There is a particular kind of loneliness that belongs exclusively to those who feel empty inside. It is not the loneliness of being physically alone, which can sometimes bring peace or clarity. This is the loneliness of being unreachable even when surrounded, of knowing that no matter how many people are present, the distance between their experience and one's own internal void remains unbridgeable. It is the loneliness of speaking a language no one else seems to understand, of describing a condition that others try to relate to but ultimately cannot grasp. Well-meaning friends offer comfort, but their words land on the surface of the emptiness and disappear without echo. People who carry this void often become philosophers by necessity. They spend countless hours in their own minds, analyzing, questioning, trying to understand why they feel this way, what is missing, what went wrong, whether it can be fixed. This internal examination can become both obsession and torment, the endless loop of self-interrogation that yields no satisfying answers. Why do others seem to feel joy so easily? What secret to living are they missing? Is there something fundamentally broken in their design, or is everyone secretly empty and simply better at pretending? These questions circle endlessly, each answer leading only to more questions, each insight revealing only deeper mysteries. The relationship between emptiness and time is peculiar. Days can feel simultaneously endless and meaningless, each hour stretching out yet signifying nothing. The past may seem like it happened to someone else, a collection of memories viewed through thick glass, emotionally distant despite their proximity in years. The future holds no particular promise or threat. It is simply more time to endure, more days to get through, more performances to maintain. The present becomes a liminal space, neither painful enough to escape nor fulfilling enough to embrace. People exist in this suspended state, not quite living but not quite able to stop. What society rarely acknowledges is that emptiness can coexist with success, beauty, love, and every external marker of a life well lived. Someone can have a career they worked hard to build, relationships that appear healthy from the outside, achievements that should bring pride, and still feel profoundly hollow at their core. The disconnect between external circumstances and internal experience creates its own special confusion. If everything looks fine from the outside, if all the pieces society says should create fulfillment are in place, then why does nothing feel real? This gap between what should be felt and what is actually felt becomes another layer of isolation, another proof that something inexplicable is wrong. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget. Emptiness lives not just in thoughts but in the physical form, the heaviness in the chest that no deep breath can relieve, the exhaustion that no amount of sleep can cure, the restlessness that no activity can settle. The body carries the weight of unfelt emotions, unexpressed grief, unprocessed trauma, unlived authenticity. It manifests in tension, fatigue, numbness, disconnection from physical sensation. People inhabit their bodies like uncomfortable houses they cannot leave, spaces that feel both too confining and too empty simultaneously. There are those who try to fill the emptiness with everything they can find: work, relationships, substances, achievements, purchases, experiences, constant motion. They pack their lives with activity, believing that if they fill every moment, every space, every silence, the void will somehow be crowded out. But emptiness is not spatial. It cannot be displaced by volume. A calendar full of commitments does not create meaning where none is felt. A house full of possessions does not warm a cold heart. Relationships entered desperately rather than authentically often only emphasize the emptiness rather than fill it. The exhaustion of constantly trying to escape oneself eventually becomes its own kind of suffering. Conversely, others respond to emptiness by withdrawing into it, by eliminating as much as possible, by reducing life to its barest minimum. If nothing brings satisfaction anyway, why pretend? Why maintain friendships that feel hollow? Why pursue goals that hold no genuine appeal? Why keep up appearances for a world that will never see or understand the void within? This withdrawal makes a certain logical sense. It is at least honest, at least authentic to the actual internal experience. But isolation, while feeling safer than performance, often deepens the very emptiness it seeks to acknowledge. Without even the thin threads of connection and obligation, the void has nothing to push against, nothing to define its boundaries. The question of whether emptiness can be healed, cured, or transcended has no universal answer. For some, it proves to be a temporary state, a season of the soul that eventually passes, giving way to renewed capacity for feeling and engagement. For others, it becomes a chronic condition, something to be managed rather than cured, a fundamental part of their psychological landscape that requires accommodation and adaptation. And for still others, it fluctuates, periods of emptiness alternating with periods of feeling, the void ebbing and flowing like tides governed by forces not entirely within conscious control. What helps one person reconnect with aliveness may do nothing for another. Some find paths back through creativity, through making something that did not exist before, through the simple act of bringing form to the formless. Others find it through service, through focusing on alleviating others' suffering, through discovering that even empty hands can still give. Some encounter it through nature, through moments of witnessing something vast and indifferent that paradoxically makes them feel less alone in their own vastness and indifference. Others stumble upon it in unexpected moments, a stranger's kindness, a child's laughter, a sudden memory that carries warmth instead of pain, a fleeting sense that life, despite everything, contains something worth witnessing. The transformation, when it occurs, is often not dramatic. There's rarely a moment of sudden awakening, no clear before and after. Instead, there are small shifts barely noticeable in isolation. A morning when getting up feels slightly less difficult, a conversation that holds attention rather than feeling like noise, a moment of beauty that registers as beautiful rather than merely observed. These tiny movements do not announce themselves as healing or progress. They are simply moments when the emptiness is fractionally less total, when the numbness is momentarily interrupted, when a feeling, any feeling, briefly breaks through. Yet even as improvement comes, if it comes, the memory of emptiness never fully disappears. Those who have lived in that void carry the knowledge of it permanently. They understand in their bones how fragile the sense of meaning can be, how easily connection can sever, how thin the membrane is between feeling alive and feeling nothing at all. This knowledge can feel like a burden, an unwelcome awareness that others without this experience do not carry. But it also brings a depth of compassion, an understanding of human fragility, a gentleness toward others who are quietly struggling, an ability to sit with darkness without trying to immediately brighten it. Emptiness teaches lessons that fullness never can. It reveals the arbitrary nature of meaning, the courage required simply to persist, the strength hidden in those who appear fragile, the validity of experiences that leave no outward trace. It demonstrates that survival itself can be an achievement, that making it through another day when days feel meaningless is its own form of heroism. It shows that humans are capable of enduring internal conditions that should theoretically be unbearable, that consciousness continues even when it brings end. Oh joy, that life persists even when its purpose is unclear. There is something both terrible and oddly beautiful about the human capacity to continue despite emptiness. To wake each day and move through its hours without the fuel of hope or happiness or purpose requires a kind of stubborn persistence that is rarely celebrated but profoundly significant. It is the raw will to exist asserting itself against all rational arguments for why existing matters. This is not optimism or faith or courage in any conventional sense. It is something more fundamental, the basic insistence of being against non-being, life against void, continuation against cessation. Perhaps emptiness serves purposes not immediately apparent to those experiencing it. Perhaps it is the crucible in which false selves are burned away, in which performative identities dissolve, in which what is genuinely essential gets separated from what was merely adopted. Perhaps it is the dark night that precedes a different kind of dawn, not a return to who one was before, but an emergence into something entirely new, something that could only be born from having touched the void and survived it. Perhaps it is simply part of the full spectrum of human experience, neither good nor bad, but simply real, simply possible, simply part of what consciousness sometimes encounters. The world continues to demand performance, engagement, positivity, productivity. It is not particularly interested in those who feel empty inside, except to suggest ways they might fix themselves, become functional again, return to contributing to the collective project of society. This pressure to be okay, to seem okay, to become okay according to external standards, can feel like yet another weight added to an already overwhelming burden. Yet some people find freedom in the impossibility of meeting these expectations. in the release that comes from accepting that they cannot be who others need them to be, that they can only be exactly where they are. In the end, those who feel empty inside are neither more nor less than human. Their emptiness does not diminish their worth, their existence, their place in the world. They are not problems to be solved, deficits to be corrected, failures to be pitied. They are people navigating an internal experience that happens to be one of absence rather than presence, of void rather than fullness, of numbness rather than feeling. Their journey is different, not lesser. Their struggle is invisible, not imaginary. Their persistence is quiet, not weak. As night falls once more, as the day that was endured gives way to the solitude of evening, those who feel empty inside continue their private existence within themselves. Tomorrow will come regardless, bringing with it the same emptiness or perhaps some small, imperceptible shift. Life continues its mysterious unfolding, and within that unfolding there is space for all experiences, all internal states, all ways of being. The emptiness is real, so is the person who carries it. Both truths matter. Both deserve acknowledgement. Both are part of the vast, complicated, sometimes unbearable, occasionally beautiful experience of being human in a world that offers no guarantees of meaning. Only the opportunity to witness oneself existing through whatever state consciousness happens to occupy. And somehow, improbably, that existence continues, not because it has found reason, but because it simply does. And that continuation, however hollow it may feel, is itself a kind of answer to a question too fundamental for words.